The Seat Mii is today on Autogefühl, your #1 resource for in-depth car reviews and your #1 community to discuss cars. We're going to give you a general overview of the Seat Mii in exterior, interior and the driving experience. We're going to draw some comparisons to the Volkswagen Up and also the Skoda Citigo, because these two are sister models of this one. And this is also here a special limited edition, 750 pieces. 500 of them are sold in Germany of this Mango special edition. This is a collaboration from Seat and this fashion label from Spain, and therefore we all say Mango and not Mango. So let's start here with our review. We'll start with the front, which is relatively short for the whole car, of course. And we also have some pictures of the Volkswagen Up and the Skoda Citigo in comparison to that. And there you see that, sometimes cars do share the same platform, but in this case, they're very much really alike. And you see, it's mainly just about the logo that is different on the front. And see here, there's a relatively small front grille. And I would say the Seat maybe has the sharpest view, because as for the headlights, they have this kind of sharp Seat design, as we also know from the other models. And as for the prices, both the Seat Mii and the Skoda Citigo, they start about 9,000 euros in Germany, taking the references prices here, and the Volkswagen Up starts at 10,000 euros, so 1,000 euros extra for the Volkswagen, but just on paper, because when you compare some leasing offers, for example, because Volkswagen is the bigger brand, the Up is ultimately cheaper quite often than because just of those special offers at the dealer. So you have to just check the real prices then at your dealer. Length is here 3,56 m, and we have it available as a 3-door or 5-door version. I've recently also driven a Volkswagen Up as a 5-door version. This one here is a 3-door version. You see it here, there's no door right here. And coming to the special Mango Limited Edition, we got those rims there in the velvet colors. That's how they call it. Also the mirror caps here. This is a special, by the way, 15-inch is it for the wheels. And we also got the chrome lip right down here. Then again, velvet color of the rims in the rear as well. By the way, maybe you've seen it already, we have drum brakes here in the rear, so disc brakes only for the front. But as this car is really very light, below 1 ton in weight, you don't really need disc brakes all the way then. And to understand the car, this is very interesting. You see here, for example, this is the rear end of the car, and it serves as the mudguard at the same time. And that's the scheme of this car, or all of the 3 cars we mentioned. You just do the necessary and not more. As for the rear, I think they've found a quite beautiful ending for this very small car, with a huge window and also with those sharp taillights here. And again, Skoda Citigo and the Volkswagen Up, they, again, all 3 look very much alike. I do prefer the Volkswagen Up here in this case, because then the whole hatch is covered in black. I think it looks a little bit more modern. But again, all 3 kind of much alike. And also the basic form, basic shape. Form for this function, you see, it's more like a cube. But that, again, offers a lot of space on the inside. Let's see how much space we really got. By the way, this is a standard Seat key we have here. I've also seen in some advertisement there's a special Mango key design, but I'm not sure why this is one, the plain here. But something more for the key I'll soon show you. So this is here the trunk. You see, of course, it's not huge, but for such a small car, it is very well usable. And you see there's no extra cover on this, but I think it's good that they don't use any more cover. Also fits to the Oryx White on the outside, of course, the color. And well, you don't waste any more space here, definitely. You can also flip the seats, even here from the rear. That is possible. And again, 2/3, 1/3 split. Then you have again even more reasonable space. This one, by the way, comes with the limited edition. There's a special case, and then, for example, here the battery pack, external battery pack. Got a purse with here, and also a fitting blanket to that one. And then for your key, you can also attach this stuff here if you like. So you got this special logo here as well, and then let's get inside of the 3-door version. The doors here, they're all very light, but again, already offer you quite good closing sound. So wide opening door here for the 3-door. I would generally go for the 5-door version because just more flexible. And then the front door is also not that long. You see Oryx White also on the inside. There's no real cover for that, but I think just visually it's also, well, why not? Why not? Then on the inside, it's all of hard plastic. We cannot expect more here in this price region, but I think for those materials used, it's generally everything quite solid. Especially for the Mango version, we can take a look here. We got the velvet color also on the inside, for example, at the vents or around the vents, whole dashboard as well as on the steering wheel. Contrast stitches also on the inside and those covers. And then I really like the seats, how they have this integrated headrest, and this looks really sporty. And also, again, the velvet contrast, this is special for the limited version. But those integrated headrest seats you also get by the main basic version, because this one here with the limited edition, as a vehicle stands here with all the equipment in here, we'll all soon show you, you land about 14,000 euros. Then again, that's a little bit expensive for a Seat Mii, if you can also get a good equipped one for maybe 10 or 11,000 euros. Then let's take a seat. And the surprise is here that even when you're quite tall, you know, I'm 1,86 m, you have no problem sitting here. Also headroom, that's totally okay here. Absolutely no problem. It could almost be 2 meters in height. And also the seats, they offer you a lot of space. Not really much side support though, but also the integrated headrest. The good thing is, they're quite close to your head. Sometimes we have head restraints which are like way back there and they don't offer you any support. Here it's very close to your head, and I really like that. Manual stuff all to adjust the seat. For example, to put it higher and lower. This one is here to adjust the back part of the seat, and also will be used to flip the seat for the rear passengers. I'll soon show you that as well. And then also to go in the front and the rear. This is all manually done here. The steering wheel can also be adjusted manually, and you can put it higher and lower, and also, not also, sorry. It's just to put, well, that's what between, it looks like you can also put to the front and the rear, but it's not possible actually. And well, maybe one thing they could do in the new generation or with another facelift or something like that, that could have been better, but at least you have this option then here. And then the back part lever I've shown you, this is also here to flip the seat and to slide it in the front. And then you can go into the rear. Again, I would take the 5-seater option, then you can, well, actually travel with 4. I did it with the Volkswagen Up, by the way. So, and then this is one problem. You cannot pull it back, the seat, and this is not a practical solution. You have to use the lever again, and then you can put put it right here. Well, this would have been the seat as I was seated. You see, there's not really so much space for my knees. It would only work if it's like maybe here. And so, well, if you're very tall, sitting here with the knees, it's not really working as well. Headroom would be still okay. 190 would maybe touch the ceiling then. But that's basically okay because you sit quite upright here. So this car, I mean, just about 3.50 meters in length, really using all the space it has, and that is quite astonishing. So it is relatively comfortable for the space you have here. As I said, even better with the 5-door version then. And as I have the seat right here, we can also test then if I could still be driving in the front. That would be really interesting. No, how was it? It was like here, was it? Yeah. So I maybe have to do a little bit of a compromise as a driver then. Will it still be possible? Really feeling a little bit weird. So we can conclude 2 persons with 190 in height, that won't work with the knees. Will work with the head, but won't work with the knees. But maybe with children in the back, that won't be a problem then. So Katrina was so kind and lended us her Mango bag, her purse. And well, this is one reason, because here in the Mango Limited version you also have, right at the glove box, special hanger here for purses. But this is also one disadvantage. If you have a quite big purse just for the hangers, it doesn't just fits with one hanger. That's one disadvantage. They have to be quite slim that both would fit on here. But maybe for some of our girls, women are watching, this might be important. Instruments. Get a very huge analog instrument in the front. And to the left is a very small RPM meter, and the digital one, for example, for the kilometer range and something like that, is below that. But you know, get a very simple overview of everything. There's no automatic light switch, by the way. You have to always turn it on or off on your own. So everything you have here, also again, good overview and solid build. Rather the classic style, but I mean, why not having it all manual? So for the wind control, even here, to change from air comes from outside and also just rolling on the inside. You even hear that's all manual, but why not? The radio is also quite simple, but the sound is actually quite good. We were quite surprised by that positively. And this GPS you get just for a few $100. For example, you have a GPS here. I can also show you the map, and you see the responsive times are quite good actually. Everything is working quite fast. This is an app view again. You can go to vehicle, also see how much consumption, 5.8 liters in 100 kilometers on this test over 100 kilometers, for example. Or also some functions like this one here. And I can turn on the engine and you can see that the RPM meter, you can put the RPM meter also here. That's quite funny. Or also the oil temperature, but also can show something else here. For example, coolant temperature is also possible to put in here, RPM meter, or the outside temperature. That is, for example, it's about 8 degrees, something like that. It's really quite funny and pretty simple system. You can also connect your Bluetooth phone, and then you can also stream your music here. And then basically you got everything you have. And when you're done, at the end of the day, you just turn it with you, also shuts down automatically then. So music streaming then either with the GPS, with the Bluetooth function, or with the aux in, this is possible as well. There's no direct USB port, that is a little bit of a disappointment. However, to charge your phone, you can use a 12-volt power supply and then put an adapter to USB in there, for example. And that's also the place here where we got some beverage holder. You can flip it out, and also here put your smartphone or maybe also some smaller stuff right here. And more storage spaces. This is a glove box, not too much space in there though. And also at the inside of the doors, you have an overview there. It's also just quite slim. And for the rear passengers, you have 2 beverage holders. One here, and then one central beverage holder right here. So then, to conclude here with general cockpit overview, I think very beautiful done is really that we have this matte surface here. I mean, velvet is not my favorite color in this case here, but you've seen it also with the Skoda Citigo or the Volkswagen Up. If you take a look at the other interiors of the other two cars, here again, all of the three cars are very much alike. And for example, you can also get this one here in glossy white. That is one very good styling feature. And I think the trick is here that, you know, it's not an expensive car. And also with not expensive surfaces, it's a pretty easy solution. But still, you can make it look rather worthy. And here in this Mango Limited Edition, it's this color then, and you get some more features. For example, the AC is already included. Seat heating is, by the way, optional, not included in the special edition. This is about 230 euros extra then. This is the traffic information, by the way, pops up automatically. One more feature. One more feature, if you put in the reverse gear, you can see with the limited edition here, high trim level, you also get the sensor for parking. I mean, you don't really necessarily need it because the vehicle is very short and you can see it everywhere where it is ending. But I mean, if you want to have it, it's also available. Let's take a look at the engine. It's very easy to open right here. Then you can fix it with this. Oh, isn't it sweet? How cute is that? So, and what do we have here? There's 1 liter of displacement, 3-cylinder petrol engine, 60 horsepower in this case, but there's also one available with 75 horsepower. And as a third option, there's also a CNG version available, and this is called Autogefühl with Seat and Eco Up, for example, with the Volkswagen. Let's start all right with the Seat Mii, and we're in the parking lot here right now. And well, I would say we test some parking also with this weird beeper, and that is one very big advantage of this car. It's very easy to handle and you directly see where it ends, and there's actually no problem to get anywhere. And I mean, it's almost as easy to park in and out like with a Smart for 2. The advantage is here, of course, that like in the Smart for 4, you can put people in the back and you have a quite reasonable price. So again, also huge overview to the side. That is again a very good advantage. And sometimes when you're driving with this car, you think, okay, maybe that's all I need, because you know you've got a quite upright seating position. If you're just driving in the city, you can flip the seats as well if you have bigger groceries. And let's see how it's behaving in driving. 60 horsepower is definitely enough for the city. On the motorway, yeah, well, maybe not. You won't be able to do fast overtaking maneuvers. That's of course not the main purpose of this car. With a manual gearbox here, 5 speeds, I can also save some fuel if I just go into neutral and let the car roll when I'm going down here, for example, is possible. It's also a little bit wet today, so a very good test for the sound insulation. As when it's wet, you know, it's always louder from the outside then. Quite nice sound from the turning indicators. And let's give it some acceleration. In the first gear, you really have to push the throttle that the car comes and does something. Sounds quite nice for such a small engine, by the way. Almost sounds a little bit sporty. So that was normal, gentle acceleration, but I can also give you some acceleration test that you can see the power of the engine. For example, let's go, let's say from 30 to 50 in second gear. Let's go now. So 30 to 50, no. That's it. That was, for example, 30 to 50. So you cannot expect much of it, of course. If you really want more power, you should go for the 75 horsepower variant. But for normal city driving, it really is enough. I mean, nowadays, if you hear 60 horsepower for a car, most think, oh, that won't be enough. But as the car is very light, it is sufficient for that one. I've also driven the CNG version in the Volkswagen Up, and that one even needed more pushing, but then again, this car here, the Autogefühl or the Volkswagen EcoUp, are the most environmental friendly cars right now. Just overall, it's even better than electric cars, because if you consider the whole production process, CNG is the best solution so far, at least when the batteries in full production don't make any more progress. So we're in the 5th gear now, 80 kilometers an hour, and then we can also tell you something about the sound insulation. And of course it's better in some car sedan segment above there, but for such a small car I think it's quite okay. I don't have to speak too loud, and there's also not, let's say, a certain area where, say, some very weird wind noises are coming from. Might also be a solution because, you know, it's quite well built as the wind can flow around the window and also right here. So it will be a little more silent when it's not rainy outside, but I think for that one the performance is quite good. Maybe if I listen very carefully, you know, as the trunk is not separated, you hear something from the water, especially on the road, from the trunk. And that's also the reason, because we don't have an insulation right there. We've shown you that in the trunk static review, because there's no cover on the inside, and also from the outside there's just like the very chassis of the car that is isolating. That is one reason why it's a little bit loud when you listen it from the trunk. So that might also be one thing that could be improved in further generations of this car. Overall, you can really have a relaxing ride in this one here, so I don't feel like in some small cars. And let me just remind you, we're not in the small car segment, it's more this mini or micro car segment. And in some small cars, because they're more, like, say, classically built, you have more this lying seating position, like in other very classic sedan cars. Here it's more like, I would say, an SUV seating position without being in a higher SUV. And that is very comfortable also for taller drivers. So I think at some point I would rather prefer drive this car than the small car segment above that, because the seating position is better here, and that I think is a very important hint, because you can definitely save some money and even save some space on the outside. Of course, it makes you even more flexible for city driving here in general. Then about the steering, it has a quite natural feeling, also responds directly. That's important also for city driving, to have good control. Let's go some agile stuff in here. It's actually quite fun. Why not? And as we have a super small wheelbase, it almost feels a little bit sporty, this car. Why not? I mean, especially when you're driving in the city mainly, it's not always fun if you're a lot of traffic and so on. But if you then have a fun car, that can definitely spice up your life. And let's do a U-turn right here. That is one, wow. I mean, it almost feels like the car is turning around on standstill. Again, another very big advantage of the car. And people have asked me what car I would really recommend if you think about a budget car. And this small or micro family here with the Seat Mii, Skoda Citigo or Volkswagen Up, no matter which one you really pick, because again, also from driving, I can tell you about all three, they are really so much the same. It's more about the styling, more about the brand, more about the dealer you have the connection to, and about the very discount offer you get at your personal dealer. And here with driving, hardly any differences. And those three are really my recommendation for the budget or the micro car market, because I also tested some other ones and weren't that satisfying in the overall package. For example, the Smart is also a very fun car, definitely, but most of the time really too expensive for the thing it is offering. We've also have a Toyota Aygo review, but that one wasn't as fit as for the build quality, especially from the interior. Here I think we have some very nice and simple solution as for the build quality and also for the interior. It can also make the ride a little bit more emotional. For example, here also as we have with the limited edition. So I think as for the driving, it is really a surprise, because sometimes you think, okay, when you have such a small car, you cannot have a comfortable ride. It's very noisy then, and maybe steering is weird and so on, but it's really not. Also here with a manual gearbox, the different gears, you can put them in very smoothly, with hardly any resistance when you shift. And I mean, as the engine is also sounding quite okay, why not? But the consumption we've shown you about, this almost 6 liters, that could be a little bit lower indeed, because the car is very, very small. Of course, you do save fuel if you compare it to other small cars or compact segment cars. But then again, could be a little bit less because it's really a small engine, really a small car. And then we can maybe expect some less of the consumption, but still quite okay. So, it's really amazing how directly the car reacts because of this really short wheelbase, but at the same time it doesn't feel uncontrollable at higher speeds, because you might think, okay, when I get a small wheelbase, it might have been a little bit weird on the motorway then. It's what I've said initially. The longer you drive the car, the more you realize, okay, driven so much like upper middle class car, upper class segment, really huge cars, maybe big sports cars and so on. But then if you go back here to the basics, and let me just do some turning around once more to show you some feature when you really have not so much space. The bumpy road here is also a good test. Oh, that was a clutch. Yeah, even on rocky surface here, it makes a good impression. It's not rough at all. So you cannot say it's a small car and they've maybe saved money on the suspension. Still, also when you got some holes in the ground, it's remaining very comfortable. So at some point, here where we say, I really don't need so expensive cars, if cars like these here already offer you so much. And I think that is one of the biggest surprises with this car, and be it a special edition now here or not. So I think, just from the driving perspective, I can really recommend the car. And this is, again, as I said, one car where you can really combine both. Having a nice car and not spending too much money on it. By the way, you've maybe seen it here as well. I've got this RPM meter running here as well. Just a nice feature. I also have RPM meter in the left instrument, but I mean, it also makes the interior here a little bit more fancy if they have the digital instruments here. And as it's also quite close to the driver's hand here, you can also control it while driving. Maybe the buttons could be a little bit bigger. Would have been easier to control then, but in general, you can also go to the GPS. And sometimes these external, it's a Garmin GPS by the way, these kind of external solutions, which are then here again very well integrated, are sometimes even better than the huge built-in GPS system, where you sometimes pay about 2,500 euros. And also, again with a Smart 4 by the way, the GPS there costs about 1,000 euros, but then again more than 1/10 of the vehicle price. That's a little bit pathetic, isn't it? Here, quite and simple and also cheap solution to add this to the car as well. So I think I have had some fun when driving here against some bumpy road. Wow. I've driven with another car here, and I would say this smaller car was definitely better than the car I drove here with. And I can just tell you, suspension also fine. This is really a very small car for a reasonable budget, where there's hardly anything to moan about. Well, automatic light, that would have been some feature I do really miss, that I have to turn it on manually, but everything else than that, well, maybe I should switch and do some more small and micro cars. What do you think, guys? And now to the conclusion on the Seat Mii. and also to the sister models Volkswagen Up and the Skoda Citigo, because they're really all three very much alike. All three definitely are one of the hot tips here for the micro or mini car segment, because they kind of offer you everything. Quite nice design, quite nice styling, a lot of space on the interior for the space given, a solid build quality, even some nice solutions here visually on the inside. As we, for example, just taking as one example, seen here in the Mango Special Edition. Yes, it's a little bit expensive than for the Seat Mii, but if you want a very exclusive one of that one, that is one possibility, and it's even, as I said, a very limited one. Most astonishing part is probably the driving, because it's not the case that you think, okay, I do have a very small car and then I don't have comforts and I don't have fun in driving and so on. It is really enough for driving, especially if you're mainly driving in the city, with good comfort, good seating position, also on the long term, and the engine is even enough as well. Maybe if you know more kind of sporty driving, pick the 75 horsepower variant and not the 60 horsepower variant, and you have some more power reserve of that one. So overall, there was hardly anything we could find we could really criticize much. They have saved, of course, cost at some points, but I mean, for such a rather budget car, that's definitely perfectly fine. So, I hope you liked this review of us. Want to hear from you what you think about the Seat Mii in general, then about this special edition, and also what you think about the small comparisons to the Volkswagen Up and also to the Skoda Citigo. A lot to discuss in the comments. I'm looking forward to your opinion. And thank you for watching. See you next time at Autogefühl with Thomas with our next full review.